compararon. Dijeron igualdad, pero esta vez me separaron. Dijeron mucho, pero no se olvidaron de callarse. Cuánto odio por mi piel sembraron. Dijeron historia y la tergiversaron. Dijeron guerra, muerte, odio y nos culparon. Enfermedades, epidemias nos contagiaron. Exterminación de mi fauna complace a tus mercados. Dijeron riqueza y todo se lo robaron. Oro, platino, diamante, a la fuerza se lo llevaron. Y la actualidad es tan triste que todo aquello que dijeron es lo mismo que hoy se dice más. ¿Quién dice, quién explota, quién se beneficia? El asesino, el mismo que da las noticias. Hay una cuenta fácil que siempre me da las grandes riquezas, de dónde vienen y hacia dónde van.
Independiente como los Mao Mao, concluyente como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao. Somos resistentes como los Mao Mao, independiente como los Mao Mao, concluyente como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao. Somos resistentes como los Mao Mao. Nati Dre es afroresistencia, cultura ancestral, afrodescendencia, solidaridad. Esa es la esencia, la diáspora africana eleva la conciencia, conciencia negra, universal, progresista y transcultural. Negros y mestizos revolucionando, pueblos caribeños y africanos en un solo bando. No más explotación, colonialismo interno, no más confusión, supremacía blanca en el Babilón. Soy rojo, negro y verde, afroliberación. Mientras más negro, más represión. Somos creadores, recupera tu visión. Mi visión es educar con amor, contra el silencio, vivo sin temor. Independiente como los Mao Mao, concluyente como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao. Somos resistentes como los Mao Mao, independiente como los Mao Mao, concluyente como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao. Somos resistentes como los Mao Mao.
Wake up, wake up, wake up. Rise up.
Rise Up International Morning Show. You know what we do around here. I am live with you. Kiana Jones Moore in the building. What's happening, Kiana? How you feeling?
Good morning. I'm feeling good. How you feeling?
I'm alive on arrival. As you can see, I had some tech problems, but I'm good right now. Good right now. How you? Yeah.
Well, doing good. Feeling all the way live. And we are all the way live this morning with you, Uprisers. We are so glad that you are with us this morning. Make sure that as you come in, you like, you share, you subscribe so that you can keep up with all that's happening here on Black Power Media Reloaded. We are the Rise Up International Morning Show, but of course, on Black Power Media Reloaded, we have so much for everyone across the spectrum. Make sure that you tune in at different times. We have Armed the Masses. We have Daughters of the Whirlwind. We have Political Prisoners in You. Everybody knows that's one of my faves, where I get my whole education. We have Warrior Class coming back to Black Power Media Reloaded, and much more. So make sure that you tune in, hit that notification bell so that you can be notified whenever any of our spots are live.
Without a doubt, without a doubt. See, that's why I appreciate hopping off Kiana. Kiana just hop right into it. She like, look, we ain't got time for no lollygagging. This is what we do around here. Y'all know what we got. Y'all know what we bring y'all. Y'all know it's fresh, dressed like $1 million.
I'm just saying. Look, if you know what's good, and the people know what's good, right? The people know where it is that they can get news that they can use. So cliche, but it's true. This is the news that you can use. Literally, we call ourselves the Rise Up International Morning Show because we want to come at you from a global perspective of movement and resistance. So we're not just talking about what's happening here on Turtle Island. It is extremely important. However, it all ties in to what's going on around the world. And we can't forget that we can't separate our struggle here from our brothers and sisters anywhere else.
You know what I'm noticing today too, Kiana? It's an Atlanta edition. You know what I'm saying?
It is.
Rap Brown, Georgia. Shout out to Imam Jamil Alameen, formerly known as H. Rap Brown. We say free them all. A few days ago, marked the 25th year commemoration of the framing of Imam Jamil Alameen, formerly H. Rap Brown. So make sure y'all get up on that situation. It is indeed a Free 'em All Friday, you know, so we want y'all to know that. Make sure, as Kiana said, like, subscribe, all that good stuff they say on YouTube. We already know we shadow ban. It's crazy because we'll get so many people in the streets talking about how they like a particular show, and I'll be like, man, those numbers don't reflect that on YouTube. But then I'm realizing,
You sure don't.
no doubt, no doubt. But we still sucker free, and it's still FTP. You know what I'm saying? To the death of us.
Always,
Yes,
always.
yes. Kiana, we will have a special guest today. Word on the streets, we have our brother Charles Barron to be stopping through. You know what I mean? So we definitely want to
Right.
talk to him because he's one of my favorite, uh, if you will, politicians, because he comes out of the Black Panther Party and he knows what it's like to fight in these mean streets. You know what it's like to fight in these streets. You know what I mean? Because we know that you've
Absolutely.
been stomping out here. You know, for folks who are not familiar and it's their first time stopping through and whatnot, please give them a little short bio if you don't mind, a little brief bio.
Oh man, that's like the hardest thing ever that people ask me, because when I think about, when they say, well, Kiana, what is it that you're doing? Or Kiana, how did you get into movement? It's like, ooh, that's a lot.
It's a lot.
But I guess the short version is that I moved to New Jersey when I was 20 years old from Atlanta, Georgia, born and raised here. Moved to New Jersey, ended up getting married, had some children, got involved in the local community, and I started my life of activism and advocacy through Board of Education meetings. I started going to a Board of Education meeting right before my older daughter was about to start school, the year before, because I wanted to see what was going on. And I encountered a group of parents of children who had special needs who were fighting tooth and nail against the school board to get what was rightfully due to their children. I got involved with those parents. We organized and did some protesting. We did a lot of public commenting, did a lot of meeting and showing up at the school board with the superintendent and different people. And from there, the rest is history. Since then, I have organized across the spectrum of organizing, everywhere from childcare and education to Cop City. Of course, we are heavy against any global genocide. So we are talking about from Philistine to Sudan. We're heavily against the starvation in Ethiopia and Eritrea. We are against the sanctions against Cuba. All of the injustices in this world, wherever we see, we show up and do what we can. Right now, currently, I work for an environmental justice organization, and I'm still doing movement work because we know that all movement work is intersectional. You cannot separate the struggle for childcare from the struggle for healthcare, the struggle for healthcare from the struggle for environmental justice, and you can't separate environmental justice from economic justice. You cannot separate economic justice from racial justice. Economic and environmental justice is racial justice. So that is why we show up in these streets against police terror. That is why we show up in these streets against cop cities being proliferated in the nation. That is why we show up against genocide on a global scale, because we know that it's all rooted in anti-Blackness. It's all rooted in imperialism, U.S. hegemony, Christian nationalism, all of those isms that don't mean anything good for the global majority. That's what we fight against. So that is what I've been doing. And, I moonlight as a co-pastor at Park Avenue Baptist Church, so you can get some preaching sometimes, you can get slapped around sometimes. Like, it all depends on what's happening and what it calls for, depending on the situation.
No doubt. We say praise the Lord and pass the ammunition.
All the time.
I appreciate your bio because it's necessary. I think that oftentimes we get quote unquote one trick ponies, or we get folks who think that we're just angry, you're just mad because of this, you're just mad because of that. Remember I was at I was inviting someone to an environmental meeting on environmentalism, and the brother was like, man, you talking about this stuff, what about such and such, whatever. He's asking me about what about somebody that was murdered by the police, which we had already been addressing, but he had a late pass. He got there and was at 2 meetings that he missed that I wasn't at. So he's talking trash about, y'all there talking about save the planet. I'm like, look, without the planet, you ain't got to worry about no police terrorism.
That's right.
You ain't got to worry about none of this shit. You know what I mean?
I think
because it won't exist.
Yeah, people don't realize though that police militarism is the greatest threat to our planet right now. We can take Cop City for an example, and I don't care if people are like, "Oh my gosh, they're always going back to Cop City." We are, because you know what? This shit happened in the 60s too with Schools of the Americas, and now we're seeing it again. So we need people to pay attention and see what's happening. We need people to go back to what was happening then when there were widespread campus protests, and the next thing you know, local police officers are being trained in military tactics to simply put down protest movements. This is why cop cities are so important, because we see that the government is again moving in a fascistic way toward simply dismantling any means of dissent from the people. But when we look at Cop City here in Atlanta in particular, they destroyed the largest urban forest in the United States in a Black neighborhood to build a militarized police training facility. We're talking about 24-hour gun range. We are talking about burn tower. We are talking about a mock city, a mock apartment building when they're not even building real apartment buildings for people to live in, and they're bulldozing tents on the street, murdering people. Like, this is what environmental justice has to do with police terror, militarism, counterinsurgency, all of these things. You're taking away 381 acres of trees. Now you've created a heat dome in that neighborhood. Now these people are going to have astronomical power bills, which are already sky high. Now it's going to be astronomical because it's too hot where they live. And this summer, when it really hits, it's going to be even hotter because of the fact that they're having to use more energy to cool their homes. That's going to add to the heat also. And what happens with this exponential amount of global warming? Look at how things are. All you got to do is look at your weather. In Atlanta, it didn't even get up to 60 degrees yesterday. It stayed in the mid 50s.
Right.
Tomorrow, it's going to be in the high 70s. Like, make that make sense.
Yes, and it's by design. And I'm glad that you made it plain, because, again, when you talk about a fight like Cop City, everybody's thinking about, the police. They think about, well, this and that. They're not looking at it from, like you said, environmental justice. They're not looking at it from a global warming perspective. They're not looking at it from a capitalism perspective. You just went through homelessness. You went through the environment and police terrorism all in one fell swoop. So the thing is, you can find a fight when it comes to this whole Cop City conundrum.
Yes.
But really, at the end of the day, the choice is yours. Definitely appreciate you running that down. We have a few different things going on, so we got to really just hop in and hop out. But yeah. I'm gonna take us to a quick Black Power. What you call it?
I call them power-ups, Black power-ups.
Okay, well, so be it. I think that we need a little bit of music right now, a little bit of cultural work. So I want to call on my crew, the Welfare Poets, and ask them to drop something real quick. Checking out the Black Power Media Reloaded morning show, which is known as Rise Up International Morning Show. And I got to tell you, I mean, I'm going to declare it right here, right now. It's the most gangster morning show on the planet.
We are.
That's just it. Like it, love it, or leave it alone. While you checking out this music that we about to drop on you, share, let your folks know that we on right now. I know a lot of folks don't want y'all to know that we on, because, I mean, just think about it. You got Reverend Kiana Jones Moore and Kalonji Changa at the same damn time. What are they going to do with it?
They can't do nothing with it, but you can only like it or leave it. That's it.
Hey, rise up. We'll be right back with you.
Poets, yeah, massive for this 4th century, heard, seen, sight, the sound unheard of massive music. One, two. Yeah, you hear those war drums? Yeah, just let it breathe. Yeah, you hear those war drums? yeah, just let it breathe. Yeah, you hear those war drums? Yeah, just let it breathe. Yeah, you hear those war drums? Let it breathe, let it breathe, let it breathe. I clutch the microphone, so never fear, cause Sunny brings atmosphere, breath of life into this battlefield. We call it Barrio Harlem. Gentrifiers is trying to steal like Sunset, South Bronx, and San Juan Hill. Until my homies island side, they hold the San Juan still. The murder of Philly Bento made it oh so real. For young Mike Tenderfoot in the books, chill with crooks till I change my look and focus on what they took from my collective people. Fucking dogs, birthed in evil. Me and need to learn logistics of acquiring the Desert Eagle. Defy your back and Garvey inspired my raps, and Ray told me my shit was dope, so I assumed what I had was crack. And yeah, I hustle hard, we got the flow, so run with us. Just never stepped on our hand, homies eat so they can bundle up when it's cold out. But why pedal dust for a couple bucks to the same knuckle fucks? Getting high since before the Knicks sucked. Totally remember ghetto living older me, not to mention the way my mama sat me down and scolded me when I was out of line. She said that I was born to shine, the last Harlem sun. If your lighters didn't follow mine, I'm from where we all know the post is loco. Used to be where they won't go. Now we got the blocks they run for. Luxury condos, the trumpet sound, I bring the bass like a tuba. Sabe pongo local daughters, the God alive Yoruba. And I run trick play so we can fool your Regos, Haiti, Iago, Cuba, Lexington, Ave, shuffle to fly right through ya. Harlem maneuvers forever. We on side, will slump you up and leave you near the MDR drive. Cause we are live, and before the blood in my veins run dry, you'll believe that a man can fly with wings that are made of fire. Set the wolves on you. The Jamaicans from Nevins, the Trinis from Sunnyside, all the wops from Pleasant, a whole zoo of gorillas waiting on Lennox. Will the beast who serve you like a snack box on 111th WB. From Kinshasa to Tripoli, I hope that you reading me. I hope I reach you with my God-given ability over illusions and similes and uncanny agility when I'm wielding a guillotine. I'm trying to bring a balance and establish the symmetry before I lay in the cemetery or left behind bars in a state-owned penitentiary. Essentially for trying to free my country from capitalistic dependency. Screaming, mira caballero que lío. Free Oscar Navalino, hands on Vieques, move the people like Abisu. And we will reach freedom eventually, as long as you walk on a righteous path. Do the knowledge, don't be afraid cause it's only math. Go to college and don't be ashamed if it doesn't last. It's only class, homie, fail or pass. Keep your books read, and straight from the life the Chris led. The BB tanks, conglomerate in the crep fed. Shine light on brown and black owned businesses. Support your roots and you will grow like photosynthesis. They try to cut us down before you could get to this, so bear witnesses. I snatch your phonies, wood carved necklaces, and say peace to the gods and the earth, the kings and the queens, the hustlers and fiends, and all my niggas stuck in between. They hanging on to broken dreams and failed promises. Hard times breed certified hood pharmacists, or broken men with no grasp for the politics that keep them the victim. But yo, really it ain't hard to miss, although it's easy to bitch, so niggas tend to do it. While change is a task and I'm tending to it. It's like a garden, I'm a farmer, man, I'm trying to bloom it. I'm trying to grow it. With this microphone, peep how I hold it. Others rapping song, check how I wrote it. I rep the welfare and I am a poet, you can quote it.
You know what it is? It's the Rise Up International Morning Show. That was the Welfare Poets. If you're not familiar, go get a late pass. The Welfare Poets out of New York. Some of my favorite spoken word artists, culture workers, etc.
Love the Welfare Poets.
Yes. Welfare Poets, keep it live. We've been rocking together since about 1999. That's been a minute. You know what I mean? Shout out to them. It's been a long time coming. Shout out to the Last Poets. Make sure you tap into the Last Poets. Sonny Patterson, you know what
Absolutely.
I'm saying? Another culture worker, freedom fighter, spiritualist, etc. Kiana, how you feeling? You good? What's going on?
I'm feeling good. I am feeling good. When I say that things have just been changing, like really, really changing around me, they're changing and it's all for the better. Sometimes we get so used to situations and circumstances being one way that when change comes, we are extremely resistant, even when that change is something good. Lately around me, there have been some changes that have occurred, and they have been, some of them, quite hard for everyone involved, but we realize that they've been for the better. So I'm really in a place of embracing change right now.
That's a beautiful thing, man. Change is necessary. The seasons change. We change our minds. We change
Absolutely.
our clothes. You know what I'm saying? Matter of fact, the last poet's got a song called "Changing, Changing." Anyway,
Yeah.
definitely. Well, we send uh, great vibrations, energy, protection, all that to you and yours um, as change occurs. I mean, revolution is a change.
Absolutely. It is. And that is, I feel like more people are coming around. More people are coming around to a radical mindset. They're becoming revolutionaries. People are just waking up to the fact that it is us and just us.
That's right.
Like it is just us, right? There is no justice for us, so it is just us. And we have to be the ones who save us. We are the ones to stand up for each other. We are the ones to hold each other up. We are the ones to stand together against all that's coming at us. And when we look around and we see the way people are coming together, it really gives me hope because a lot of times we can get caught up in the cynicism because it is a lot of suckers out here, man. It's a lot of fakers, it's a lot of
Ooh.
shakers, it's a lot of shaky people.
I
And
I can't believe you said it's a lot of suckers out here, Kiana. I mean,
look,
on
look,
on this good planet, on this good.
on this good planet, honey, you got the real ones, you got the suckers, and you got a bunch of people in between. It's a lot of
Mm,
charlatans out here. It's a lot of snake
really,
oil salesmen out here, especially in the movement space. And we get so sick and tired of seeing movement co-opted by these characters. We get sick and tired of seeing people deceived. And I think that for us, it hits differently because we deal with people on a very genuine level. And when we decide to engage with people, when we decide to engage with organizations, when we are engaging in movement for a cause, we are doing this from a place of love. We're doing this from a place of sacrifice. We're doing this from a place of obligation to the ancestors who gave us the charge, who told us what we had to do. Because when I get up, when I think about what I got to do, I think about a Daruba bin Wahad. I think about a Nasada Shakur. I think about a Fannie Lou Hamer. I think about a Mumia. I think about those people who are still behind the wall because they stood and because they did not back down.
right,
They didn't
right,
sell out at all.
man. Listen, Kiana, listen, man. I'm gonna be open with folks. I was recently offered the opportunity to get on another morning show, and this would be a more mainstream type joint and whatnot. They was trying to convince me, like, man, you know, we love what you're doing over there, but man, your audience need to be broadened, and we got, the numbers are good and all that type stuff. I'm like, yeah, we good where we at, whatnot. Yeah, but don't you want more people to check you out? Listen, man, the way we feel is like whatever's meant to hit you won't miss you, and whatever's meant to miss you won't hit you. You
That's
understand?
it.
Yeah, that's the business. So, yeah, I'm grateful because it's quality over quantity, and the work that we're doing right
Absolutely.
now, the work that we're doing right now, I know it's divine decree because I come from a space where there was no social media, where I was organizing, and many times, and some of you, if you've been around for a while, you might have heard me saying this. You know, remember being on street corners with flyers talking about free movement, talking about justice for so and so as a one man gang, looking like what some of you would call the quote unquote crazy man talking to himself. Yeah. And I'm out there passing out these flyers, and I remember folks literally. I remember one sister took a flyer I had, balled it up, and tossed it at me like that. You know what I'm saying? I remember a cat drove by, tried to splash me and whatnot, but he forgot that there was a traffic light right there, and I just happened to be frustrated, and he ended up getting baptized and and getting some. He got good. You know what I mean? But the
Mm-hmm.
point is, I'm saying all that to say, it's not bragging rights. There's never been no money hits or any of that type stuff. You know what I'm saying? It's been about our people's liberation movement, and I stand on that. It's painful. You know what I mean? Because you got folks that hate you just for loving us.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
They
And
think you somebody. I mean,
oh
it's
yes,
insane,
you
but
know, Kalonji, I want you to remind people what FTP stands for, because there's a couple of iterations, but what is FTP?
FTP is, like you said, it's a number of different things. It's for the people, it's for the planet, free the prisoners, fruition through persistence, formulate the plan. Uh, I think I might have mentioned feed the people. I'm not sure. I'm
Yes.
getting up there.
Yes. See,
Yeah,
feed the people is what I was getting to,
no doubt,
because I
no
told
doubt.
y'all I moonlight as a pastor, right? And there is one passage in the Bible where Jesus is asking Peter, Peter, do you love me? And Peter says, of course, Lord, you know I love you. Jesus asks Peter again, Peter, do you love me? And Peter said, what, you didn't hear me the first time? Yes, I love you. And Jesus asked Peter a third time, Peter, lovest thou me? And Peter said again, Lord, what else I got to do to prove to you? I mean, I know I done did some messed up stuff, but I love you. And what Jesus replied to Peter was, feed my sheep. Feed
Right.
my sheep. Feed the people. And that's what we are here to do. Love the people by feeding the people. We are giving people physical food. We are giving people spiritual food. We are giving people revolutionary food so that they can grow and nourish themselves, so that they can nurture their children, their families, their communities, so that we can all be in this thing called revolution together, and that none of us is left behind. See, when you come into a place of leadership and you don't want to feed the people, it's a problem,
Sure
because
indeed.
that is what leadership requires. Because it's up to us to bring people up to where we are so that they can even go beyond, because none of us is the end all be all of this thing called movement or revolution. It's going to keep going, but it will die if we don't feed the people. And that is why we stay sucker free. That is why we don't deal with certain people, because when we see that you're not dealing genuinely with the people, when you are feeding the people bullshit, lies, and drama, when you are feeding the people in a way that would have them following a man instead of an ideal,
True indeed.
then that's an issue. And that's why you don't see us in certain places. That's why you won't see us next to certain faces. Because once we find out, when I find out that you ain't for real, then I keep it moving.
True indeed.
And I don't have to go and tell other people not to be around you. Actions speak louder than words. So many times when something's going on, people will say, "Oh, well, who's going to be there? Who's going to be there? Who's going to be there?" The question I ask is who's not going to be there?
That's
Because
right.
sometimes that'll tell you more than who is going to be there. But I
Without a
digress.
doubt.
Suffice it to say that we're in this thing for real, and we're in this thing for the right reason, just because it is the right thing to do. And we are in this because we don't want to let our ancestors down, because their sacrifices will not be in vain.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. And I'm very happy, and y'all forgive me. I'm trying to send our guests a link right now. But to your point, yes, and you said it, you nailed it. Feeding the people is not just some old ass bread and some bologna sandwiches. Feeding the
That's
people
right.
is not just, you know, you collected some money from the people to feed the people a bag of grocery for the week or whatever, and you got to tell everybody you did it. Back in the day, we had our Feed the People program, and we utilized social media to make it look good, to make it cool, to get other folks out that didn't know what it was necessarily about. But feeding the people goes beyond the physical nourishment; it goes into the mental and the spiritual, as Kiana mentioned. And this is the most pertinent food that people need right now, because of the fact that our people are misguided, they are led astray, and as Malcolm said, hoodwinked, bamboozled, etc. But we got to take them out of that paralysis. And no, we don't think that we have a magical wand. We all have flaws. I have flaws and contradictions that I work on daily. You know what I'm saying? So I don't need some of you to point it out. But if you choose to, I don't really give a fuck. Part of my English. You know what I'm saying? The fact is, you just like me and I'm just like you. We trying to survive out here. We trying to win out here. And that is the duty. That's the goal. But we get so caught up. We are more concerned right now with internet beef than our liberation. You know what I'm saying? I've had folks put up whole videos trying to shut me down. Like, that's a joke. Like, whatever. Because in the real world, you don't come up on me when I see you. You know what I'm saying? I'm like Debo. You be quiet, but when I leave, you be talking again. So I don't care nothing about that. That's corny to me. Especially when we're adults. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
But people, Reverend Kiana, and I know you told us don't call you Reverend. My bad. We have a guest that's trying to get on right now, and he's having some difficulties. So either you can hold it down, or we can go to a quick Black Power rise up. And we apologize. We homegrown today. You know what I'm saying?
No, it's
So
cool. I definitely will hold it down while you get Brother Charles on. This is a
cool.
person who I heard so much about during the time that I lived in New Jersey. Brother Charles was always around to make sure that the cause of the people was brought to those in positions of authority. I never had the chance to meet Brother Charles Barron in person, but all that he has done has greatly affected me. And there have been some tangentiality, I'll say, being tangential between us in movement and in spaces. And we have a lot of common connections. While we wait for Kalonji to get Brother Charles on, I just want to speak to the question that we posted on the screen. Shout out to Anthony. Anthony is always around here on Black Power Media Reloaded, and we appreciate your support so much. And Anthony asked a question about gangs and about gangs being pervasive in our neighborhoods, but feeling like parents are missing it. Like willful ignorance is like the theme of the day when it comes to parents not understanding what's happening with their children. And what I'll say, Anthony, is that I believe that our children need love. They need genuine love that goes beyond words, that goes beyond, making sure that they do their schoolwork. Our children need to know that we're interested in them. Our children need to know that they matter. Our children need to know that, yes, we're busy, and yes, we are trying to provide for them. But our children don't need to feel like they are the reason for our struggle. Our children don't need to feel like we would be doing much better if we didn't have to provide for them. Our children don't need to feel like they get on our nerves every time they look at us. Our children need to feel like they are valued, like they are loved. Our children need to know they have community. I honestly feel like the breakdown in community is what's been driving a surgence of gang activity. It's driving our children out of our homes and into the gangs, because people will tell you that when they get to a gang, that's the first time they felt like they had family. That's the first time they felt like someone had their backs. And I firmly believe that when you show children that they are loved, that they are also respected, and that they are supported, that's a powerful thing. I remember growing up, and I grew up in the 80s. I was born in 1979, so I grew up in the 80s, and I grew up in a really old school Black family. And a lot of times as children, we just didn't have a voice. A common phrase that some of my aunts would say is, hey, you're a child. You are a child. Stay in the child's place. And that excluded us from a lot of conversations. And granted, sometimes we were eavesdropping on the adult conversation, and, like we might try to drop in what we heard. And sometimes that was warranted. But other times we would hear that simply when we were asking to be heard. And I believe that many children feel like they are not heard. And it's a mistake on the part of us as adults to think that our children's voices are not important. Because when our children's voices are not heard by us, they'll be heard by someone. And many times that ends up being somebody who's affiliated with the gang, somebody who might not be affiliated with the gang, but has no good intentions for your child. But they will make your child feel loved. They will make your child feel seen We need to see our children in their totality. We need to see them holistically for all that they are, not just this is a child that I gave birth to. But we need to see the creativity in them. We need to see the love in them. We need to see the hope in them. We need to see their dreams. We need to see even the angst that they carry. We need to see that. And we need to embrace them for all that they are. We need to give hugs often, if that is okay with our children. You know, if your child is the type of child that loves physical affection, show your child physical affection. Hug them. Hold their hands. Tell your daughters that they are beautiful. Tell them that they are immeasurable. Tell them that they are the prize. Tell your sons not only that they're handsome, but tell them that they're warriors. Tell them the greatness that is within them. Tell them the stock that they come from. Encourage, inspire your children to greatness, because they are all great. All great. And as Jeff said, don't be afraid to talk to your children about this, because it's real and it's happening. When I say it's happening, it's happening. And shielding our children, it doesn't work, because unfortunately they are exposed. They are exposed to so much. I mean, I can't even begin to describe like the bombardment of all that I began to see that my children have been exposed to over the years. So our children range in age from 21 to 5. So think about 21 years of parenting, right? And all that has changed in the last 21 years. How it went from, even from the time of me being a teenager to my now 21-year-old becoming a teenager, the way things were different. You know, the time when you had to see somebody physically to be able to recruit them into a game. We are now in a time where it could be somebody on your Reddit thread. It could be somebody on Snapchat. I can't believe Snapchat is still around, but Snapchat, and I guess Snapchat will be around as long as people have need of sending messages and having them disappear. You know, as long as there are predators, as long as there are people who are trying to do things in a clandestine nature, then yeah, there will be platforms like Snapchat. But our children finding people and being found by people online. You know, I have a 10-year-old who love Roblox. There are 2 10-year-olds in our household who love Roblox. And we have to be careful about who it is that they're interacting with, even on Roblox. There are predators on Roblox trying to talk to your children. If your children are playing Roblox in any capacity, they have the ability to play role-playing games. They have the ability to use voice chat. If you have a child playing Roblox, make sure that you check the settings, disable the voice chat if that's something that you think is important for your children, because many times other people are talking to your children, not other 10-year-olds, 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds. There are 18-year-olds and up who are on Roblox who will begin to talk to your children. Tell your children that if they're using voice chat, never to tell anybody where they live. Don't tell people your real name. Don't tell anything about your family. Don't give out personal information, because we can't be too careful. Story after story after story has come up recently where adults have been busted for chatting with children online, for luring them. And many times it's through a game like Roblox. I know that for myself, I was oblivious to a degree. Thank God for my husband, because my husband is the one who reminds me that we have to always uplift our children, that we have to always show interest in them, that we have to want to know what it is that they're doing, how it is that they're doing it, and not just dismiss it. And that falls on me a lot, because I think sometimes, I'm just like, they play those video games, whatever. I'm not into that. So if it's something that I'm not doing, many times I'm just like, forget it, whatever. And when my husband will say, oh, let me check that out, I'm like, yeah, you check it out, because it ain't for me. But my husband has been the one to tell me many times, hey, I want you to check this out, what Daniel's looking at. And because I take the time, hey, Dan, hello. Come and say hello to the people. Hello. This is Dan, everybody.
What's happening, Dan? How you doing?
One of our 10-year-olds. You can skedaddle now. Hey. But Dan is one that's on Roblox a lot. And Dan is the one who I have to tell all the time, don't tell anybody where you live. If somebody asks where you live, no. If someone asks who your parents are, no. If someone wants to know your real name, just all of these things, no. Because this is how our children get caught up. And so many times, because we get busy, because we get overwhelmed, because we are trying to make sure that we meet a deadline, we will give our children that tablet, that phone, that laptop, whatever, and tell them, look, go do that, because I need to concentrate.
No doubt.
And what we're missing is that someone else is giving them the attention that we should be giving them.
Kiana, I appreciate you holding it down. You know what I'm saying? Sound like we had Ask Kiana Friday. You know what I'm saying? She was over there getting it together. You know what I mean? Just in case y'all didn't know. I came back. I didn't know what was going on. I thought she done started a riot or something. I was on the other end. Shout out to Mama Inez, who's doing serious tech work in the background for our next guest. I ain't gonna say nothing about. He's one hell of a politician, knocking them out in the movement. But his tech game, boy, woo, it's sort of like mine. But anyway, we're going to bring up Baba Charles Barron. What's happening, brother? How you doing?
Why you had to blow up my spot, man? I was going to front it. I was trying to front it.
My bad.
Yeah, man. I know my stuff. I had to go through some changes to get on, but I made it. But the truth is, without my queen, I would not be here.
Listen, man. Listen, I'm gonna tell you. See, when you said why I had to front you off, I thought about something my mother used to say. My mother, when I was little, she'd be like, "You talk too much. You gonna make folks hate you," and she just straight cursed me.
Tell your mom.
Now I tell her, yeah. Now I tell her you predicted it. See, Charles Barron, man, this must be a hater Friday because we got Kiana and you on here together. So I'm not quite sure how we're going to do this. But anyway, welcome back to the platform, Baba. It's always an honor to have you in the midst. Don't trip on the tech joint. We all mess up, man. You know what I mean? It's difficult.
No,
It's difficult. I know that wasn't you. That was Kiana. We told her to make
once I seen StreamYard, I said, "Oh Lord," if
they
it's
got
Zoom,
me.
I just zoom on. Once I see StreamYard, Inez, come.
It's crazy for me. I'm the opposite. When I see Zoom, I'm on all these meetings and whatnot. So I got my mic muted. They're like, "Okay, Kalonji, say something." I'll be like, can't never find the microphone. So so it is how it is, man.
But it's always an honor to be on with you, my brother and sister Kiana. I really appreciate the space and time, because what y'all doing is not being done hardly anywhere in the country. So it's my honor.
Man, listen, it's being done on WBAI on Fridays at, I believe, 5 p.m. So
5 p.m. Speaking truth to power.
Speaking truth to power. So if you are in the New York area, or if you're not in the New York area, you can check out Baba Charles Barron and Mama Inez Barron.
Yes.
On Fridays, and hopefully you'll be checking them out here soon. I've been trying to negotiate a contract with them. Okay.
No, good. It's done. We just got to get the logistical stuff. Now that I got Inez with me, it shouldn't be a problem.
He said, now that you got it with you. She been with you for a minute though, so you know.
Look. Yeah, but you got to get her. Hey, come on now, leave me alone. Learn how to do this stuff. So, she's here physically, but I get on. Y'all heard of that last nerve that we talk about in the Black community?
Absolutely.
I think I get on her last nerve with this stuff sometimes.
You dance on it, huh?
Oh yeah,
right.
Yes.
But I gotta admit, she does well with security as well, because like I said, that day I saw you in that particular store where you was acting like you wasn't you. I circled back around and saw her. She got in position. And she's like, oh. So that's that little ninja over there. He cool.
Look,
he all right.
You're lucky you didn't make the wrong move, man.
I already know.
To go action.
Listen, I made an announcement from the other side of the aisle. Brother Charles,
I'm here.
Exactly. But it's all good. We definitely appreciate you coming through. For folks who are unfamiliar, I don't want to do you a disservice if you don't mind giving us a bio. I know, as Kiana mentioned earlier, that's like, I hate when folks have me on the show, be like, can you give us your bio? Like, man, come on, man. And now I'm doing it. So, you know, I get to be in that seat today.
Well, you know, I'll do it real quick. You know, I grew up on the Lower East Side of Manhattan in the projects. I know y'all call them housing developments. I was in the PJs.
I was in the projects too. Go ahead.
Yeah, on the projects. Lillian Wall on the Lower East Side of Manhattan. And while I was down there, I got conscious at around like 16, 17. I read a book called The Last Days of the Congo about Patrice Lumumba. And that turned me on. Then I read Malcolm X's autobiography. Two Panthers used to come down to the Lower East Side and sell their papers. Tony Martin and and his partner, they used to come down, and Mark. And I used to argue with them. They said, why don't you come up to Harlem and, you know, check out the Panthers. I went up to the Harlem chapter and saw what they were doing. I signed up. I wasn't in leadership, wasn't in the BLA and all of that stuff. I was one of 1,000 cadres just to get my papers, come down to the Lower East Side and, you know, go ahead and sell my papers. I met Felipe Luisiano from the Young Lords. Cha-Cha Jimenez was in Chicago with Fred Hampton. So I did work with Felipe. We did a lot of work together. Then after that, I went to CUNY. I went to Hunter College. I graduated from Hunter College and what is that? New York City Community College. But at Hunter College, I did a program called In the Spirit of the 60s. And I was able to get Reverend Daughtry, Richie Perez, and Atala Shabazz, Malcolm X's daughter. And from there, just to speed it up, I joined the Black United Front. That's where I developed my leadership and all of that stuff. I was Reverend Daughtry's chief of staff and went across the country. We had a forum in Brooklyn, New York, over 1,000 people representing about 40 states and 5 foreign countries. And we established the National Black United Front. Started my own company called Dynamics of Leadership. I do leadership training across the country. And then I decided we needed power. And that's when I said, let me run for office. And I ran for the city council seat in 97 and got 4,000 votes to the machines, 6,000. And then in 2001, we beat the machine. And I was in for 14 years in the city council and 7 years in the state assembly. And Inez was in the city council for 8 years and the state assembly for 5 years. So we beat the most powerful machine in the country, Kings County Democratic Party Club, for 21 years. They got their seats back after Inez stepped down, and they got my seat back last time out. But now we are building the National Black Radical Political Convention, and I'm working with the Uhuru Movement, Amali Yeshitela, and the Uhuru Movement, African People's Socialist Party, and they have a Black radical political school. So that's about it. Married for 42 years. 42 years with my king. First 2 years, my brother, was World War I and World War II. I lost them both. But I did survive the last 40.
Hey, man.
Happily married Black man.
Right on, man.
5 grandchildren and 2 sons.
That's all right, man. That's all right. 42 years is serious, brother. I mean, nowadays, if folks are together 42 days, you know what I'm saying? It's,
They're doing good.
they they doing better than most. You know what I mean? So
Right.
no, definitely salute to you all. So when you said you get on Mama Inez's last nerve, you know what I'm saying? I can only imagine it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that probably was 24 years ago. You know what I'm saying? Right now,
that nerve is gone.
yeah, it ain't even a nerve no more. It's just like.
But I tell you, man, she is the love of my life, and I've never
Right
been more happier in marriage than I could ever be. And all my success is connected to her, from Operation Power, from the Dynamics of Leadership Training Company, from the electoral arena. Inez was right there, and she's the greatest motivator in my life, and it's been a blessing. Couldn't have done it without her.
No doubt, no doubt. So check this out real quick. And I do have Kiana on deck as well. I know that folks are already in the chat. We talked a few weeks ago about electoral politics. We talked about your role. Shout out to our sister Marva Berry, who I also spoke to the other day, and she was like, "You need to get Brother Charles a run." I talked to Daruba, "You need to get Brother Charles a run." And so, and folks in the chat right now, like, are you going to primary Representative Jeffries? Okay. Yeah. So I want to know your thoughts before we get it started, because I know that.
First of all, we are building new elected radical revolutionary elected officials like Karan Allen and Joy Simmons and a whole host of people that are going to run. Inez and I did, I'm 75 years old. Inez is whatever age she wants to be, but she's older than me. No, let me say. So she's
try to go backwards. Go ahead.
But we did our 21 years, so I'm not going to run again, but I am going to be involved in preparing other people to run. So we have to get across the country, not just like, hey, Charles run. We got to get radicals, revolutionaries running. And you got to run, win, lose, or draw, just to get the name recognition out there. So people say, oh, yeah, but you got name recognition. I wasn't come out my mother's womb with name recognition. That's something that you build, you grow with. So we got a team moving, and you got to make a 10, 15-year plan. It can't be, think you're going to beat folk overnight. I do believe if we ran, we'd have a formidable race. But right now, I want to put more energy in going across the country and going into Black communities, because the way things are going now, revolution is in the air. It's in the air in the Sahel region of Africa. It's in the air with BRICS and all of that. And now we gotta make revolution in America from the bottom up. So it can't be just one or two people, run, get Hakeem out or whatever. These guys are going. They're imploding. The Democratic Party and the Republican Party is imploding. So we got to build a base, a strong, powerful, revolutionary electoral movement across the country. I think my time is better spent with that, because even if you run against these guys, it's going to take everything you got, because believe me, when I say we beat the most powerful machine in the country, Democratic Party machine, I'm talking about the Kings County Democratic Party machine. They got Wall Street, they got the real estate industry, they have all of the unions just about, they have clergy, they have elected official incumbents. That's who we beat for 21 years. So now it's beyond getting me to run. It's building a movement across the country so that we, in every Black community where we are the majority, we need to get the neo-colonial Black puppets of the Democratic Party out of office, because they are in control. It's not just the high-profile ones. They are in control in every Black community, every brown community. There is a Democratic Party club that controls the local politics, that can determine affordable housing, how much you're going to put into poverty and unemployment and scholarships, free scholarships. That's all the stuff we got. We built 3 new $88 million schools, $50 million worth of park renovations. I could spend the rest of this program just talking about all that stuff. And at the same time, got 3 political prisoners freed because we joined the Jericho movement and made the state assembly support the release of Herman Bell and Seth Hayes. Unfortunately, he made his transaction after he got out. And Jalil Montecalm. So, and then also I sent letters and got some Congress people to send letters for Mutulu Shakur. And he eventually got out, made his transition. And then reparations bill that they watered down is my bill. Viola Plummer and I, we designed that bill. So it's a whole lot we could do if we built a movement. For some of the people that say, run, Charles, you run in your area, and I'll come and show you how to win. We have a record of the machine. So we need a whole lot of us running, because we're going to get these seats back. It's going to take us a minute because they got it back. But it'll be another 3-4 years. You're going to see our young candidates pop up and win. So build a movement, not a person.
Hey, listen.
Absolutely.
Yeah, to your point, and I ain't mean to cut you, Kiana. We do have Princess Madia we're going to bring on as well. But I want to say, Brother Charles, what you're talking about right now is imperative, because what you just said just nailed it. And if every freedom fighter on the planet would take note and take heed, we'd be all right. You said I'm 75 years old. I gave 21 years. You know what I'm saying? So you're going from, and I'm gonna make it plain. You're going from player to coach. You understand what I'm saying? We say youth for war, elders for counsel. We have to know when it's time for us to say, okay, I'm gonna step back and I'm gonna show the young bulls how to move out here. You understand what I'm saying? You mentioned a few different members of the Panther Party. Of course, you were part of the Black Panther Party yourself up in New York. I want to bring on real quick the daughter, one of my comrades that I consider family, the daughter of Bilal Sunni-Ali and Efua Sunni-Ali. We're going to talk about a memorial and a celebration that's going on this Sunday that we'll be broadcasting on here. So I'm gonna bring on Princess Madia real quick, and if you don't mind, Brother Charles, did you know Bilal Sunni-Ali?
No, I didn't know him, but I knew of him, but I didn't really know him.
Cool. Well, here's his daughter, Madia. How you doing?
Shalom, everybody. Peace, greetings.
Shalom, peace.
Shalom, peace. How you feeling today?
I'm here. I'm thankful. You know, it's busy. Been a busy week. Bit overwhelmed. However, you know, grateful to the Creator for His mercy and grace.
No doubt. Yeah, we glad that you've been rumbling since I knew you and before I knew you. And also for folks that don't know, Madia has a show along with her sisters on this platform called Daughters of the Whirlwind, and they had some serious guests on it. Everyone from, matter of fact, if you don't mind, just name a few guests real quick, because I don't want to mess it up.
Well, our latest series of on our podcast, Seeds of Revolution, Daughters of the Whirlwind, our latest in our last season, which goes into our current season, we're doing stories of our stories, basically children of the movement, whether it be Panther Cubs, children of BLA members, RNA members, SNCC members. Though we talk to our comrades, our peers, about how it was for them to grow up in the movement, because a lot of times, people are like, your parents, but we were right there on the front line with our parents. Some of us went to jail with our parents. Some of us, were born in jail, during our parents being in jail. Some of us were on the run with our parents. So, and then some of us were separated from our brothers and sisters and our parents during those times. So we talk about that with our comrades, our cub cousins, as we like to call each other, and our movement family. And so that's our latest I would say, topic or agenda is to get our stories told by us. Yeah, so that's what we're doing on Daughters of the Whirlwind, which, as Kalonji said, you can catch it on Black Power Media. We will launch our during Black August.
No doubt, no doubt. So, you know, I know you on the move. We see you in the car, you know what I mean? And I know you've been busy all week. And just like Brother Charles, I called y'all like 5 minutes before it was time to air. And I appreciate both of y'all showing up. I've been trying to get Baba Charles on for the last week, but that's a whole other story. You know, I'm like, we about to go on now. He be ready. And I'm like, oh yeah, I just woke up. But listen,
I'm loving red, black, and green jogging. So I'm like, oh, he was ready.
Oh yeah, no,
I'm ready. I'm ready to rumble. He got me up and got me all excited. I got to put on my war gear. That's right. And Marcus Garvey's pictures on my back, so I got my back covered. Look out in the front. I said I'm 75, but don't fool you. I'm ready to rumble. Matter of fact, I could challenge some of you brothers in the game of basketball, and I think I can handle my business, and you know, because I have a jump shot. But I'm just saying, don't let the age fool you. But seriously, sister, I really appreciate you and your family, your father. You know, did so much to our movement, and we got to let this generation not forget folk. You know, especially our political prisoners. A lot of folk don't realize how many people gave up their lives. You know, now it's challenging sometimes to get people to come to 2 or 3 meetings in a row, or, you know, meeting week after week after week. You got to do this every week, yes. But these brothers and sisters gave up their lives. It was an everyday thing. And not knowing where money was going to come in, how bills were going to be paid. Their children were neglected, not in terms of love and appreciation, but time, you know. So I just, I love my brothers and sisters that made that commitment. I was 16, 17 when I made it. And then I wasn't nearly like your father and others. I was out there selling my papers. They was in the trenches and jails. And so, you know, I just appreciated so much that you still want to be out here and be a part of the movement. So bless you, sister.
Thank you. Absolutely. Like, you know, I can't even say couldn't even have it another way. Like, we don't know no other way. You know, this is this is from birth, from the womb to the tomb, as people like to say. And
there you go.
As like we did have on our last season with the series, we had Fred Hampton Jr. We had daughter of Kamal Siddiqui, free Kamal Siddiqui. We also had Russell Maroon Schultz, 2 of his children.
Right.
And so coming this season, we're gonna have we have surprises. Okay, yeah, I don't want to give it all away. So we have Setua Shakur before, and I will say we will have the whole Shakur clan, and we're working on Cub cousins that, you know, don't really like to talk, but we've all been gathering ourselves together. Realize this is a healing process for us too, and when we get to it, allows us to kind of break through areas of communication that it's not so easily being able to speak to just anybody about. So it's you know, like a dual thing for us, but we really enjoy it, and we're thankful for this platform because, you know, she came to us like, got this platform, we'd like y'all to be a part of it, and we was like, okay, let's do this.
No doubt.
But it's interesting you mentioned. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Oh, you good?
It's interesting you mentioned Setua. I was very close with Afeni Shakur. As a matter of fact, Afeni and I met when she came to Harlem. Y'all remember the Atlanta children that were being killed, the 20 some odd Atlanta murders? She came and we were in a coalition. We did a candlelight vigil. About 40,000 people came out in Harlem. And that's where I met Afeni. And then we became really close friends. And I remember I used to have dinner sometime, her, Setua, and Tupac, before he went to Baltimore and been with Digital Underground and all of that. We used to have dinner, and they actually joined the House of the Lord Church under Reverend Daughtry, because Afeni and I were good friends. But Setua and the Gloria, Gloria Faney's sister, we had a great relationship. Afeni was special. I think
Yeah.
people really didn't get the full Afeni Shakur. That was a powerful sister. Man, this was a sister, and this is Women's History Month, but this sister needs to be remembered. The Panther 21 would have been in jail for the rest of their lives if it wasn't for Afeni Shakur
You're right.
and demonstrating her skills in court. I remember Michael Tabar, Setwayo, and Daruba. He was Richard Moore then, Daruba Ben Wahad. They were part of all of that. But it was Afeni who got in that court and did some lawyering. And she was the reason why the Panther 21 was acquitted on all charges. They were bogus, trumped up charges in the first place in the kangaroo court. But she got up there and she laid it out. And Faney had a deep spiritual connection with God. She was very spiritual. And her and Sister Sada Shakur, Joanne Chesamar back then, and another sister. You remember that sister that I think they met, Joan Bird? Did you ever meet Joan Bird? Yeah, Joan Bird. They beat her up badly. Matter of fact, Jamal, Joseph, and I, are good friends. But just mentioning Setua brought all of that up because a lot of people talk about Tupac and should, but Setua is a beautiful human being, and she has her own foundation. I'm on the board there with her foundation, but and she, when we talk about these heroes, like I know Atala Shabazz, Malcolm's oldest daughter, made my wedding suit. She made my wedding suit, so we were good friends. And when you meet their daughters and their children, see, that's Malcolm X to us. That's daddy to her.
Right.
That's Tupac, that's my brother, Afeni, my mother, so we see them as, revolutionary icons. That's daddy. That's mommy. That's my brother I lost. And people, they forget that human touch. And that's why I respect you so much. That's your daddy, and to us, great revolutionary. But to be a father, I just think of my children. My son has a hard time sometimes. I'm not that known. I'm no Malcolm X. I'm not all that. But the little notability I have, they have troubles with that. Oh, your father's child, either they're going to love him or hate him. Or could you get him to do something for us? Because my mama needs this, my daddy, and he's just trying to be himself and trying to find his own identity and purpose. So I just appreciate you so much, my sister, so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I appreciate all your words, and I second Auntie Afeni, a powerhouse. You know what I mean? Like, I remember when I graduated high school, she was there, and people was like, "Oh, you didn't tell me," and I was like, "Yeah, it ain't nothing special for me." So we talk about that. We actually talk about that on our podcast. How for us, like you said, that was our dad. That's our cousin. Those are our aunts and uncles, and they're our heroes and sheroes. But it's a different type of love and act. And I think a lot of times people forget these heroes and sheroes have a family, and the sacrifice that the family has to make in order for the people to get our parents, our aunts, our uncles, our brothers, and our cousins and our sisters. It takes a lot. And as children, when we're children, we like, man, why we got to go to this meeting again? Why we got to go to this?
Right.
As adults, we're like, yes. We did the remember things. We could sit back and be like, yo, y'all remember when that happened? And we was like, and I mean, it's so much history and so much richness to that life that a lot of people, I won't even say a lot of people, we didn't even realize as children, but now we're adults with children, and we're like, and our children be like, well, we didn't know that. And we didn't, and we're like, well, we couldn't talk about it. So now they're like, now y'all talking about it. And a lot of now y'all talking about it, but our grandparents are gone. So it's like they can't get the time to really get in deep with our grandparents. So a lot of it too is our healing, but then also educating our children, because we couldn't talk about stuff to our children.
That's right.
We're to, and we still can't talk about everything. We could talk about certain things. My dad would tell us, if we ask certain questions, he'd be like, "Oh, that's a need to know."
So you said that with y'all too?
No. So all we could do is be like, "Okay," walk away.
I thought that was personal towards me. I'm glad that it wasn't personal.
that was a general comment.
Oh, okay, cool.
We had a running joke, and all of us, from the Shakurs, Odingas, all of us, we grew up very tight together. We used to be like, "Yo, where the money at?"
Right.
So they'd be like, "That's on a no basis." So we like, "Man, I'm gonna go dig up some backyards and stuff." But we know that everything they did, was for the people. And so we're honored, actually, as adults now, we're honored to be able to continue to carry on their legacy. And we may not do it like them, but we're going to do it our way. We're going to be with our people. Like you said, our cousin Setua, she runs the Tupac Amaru Shakur Foundation for the people, for the youth, for the children.
Yes,
great line from the Black Panther Party of getting in the street, getting in the hoods with our youth. So it's so many different branches that we carry it on and pull for it, bring that legacy into our generation, into the next generations, for generations to come. One thing my Uncle Matulu said when he first got out of prison, we all went to see him. He said, "It's y'all time to get the bag, and y'all need to get it, and y'all need to carry this legacy."
That's right.
The generations. He said, because family we laid our lives down, and he said, and we can't let it die with us. So he said, "It's y'all's turn. Like, pass the mantle to us." He gave us that, but I'm trying not to even get emotional, but just having him say those words powerful. And then when Uncle was passing, we were there with him, and he was saying the same thing. And when my Baba was passing, he same thing, because iterate to us that it don't die with them, it lives forever.
That's right. That's right.
And a lot of people understand that just because they have passed on, it's going to live forever. They have children that carry their blood, and then they have other people like Kalonji who they mentored. Most of their these great leaders in the community. So I salute you too, Brother Bowen and Brother Charles, because I'm not with those who's the biggest leader, revolutionary, whatever. Revolutionary. I tell people all the time, you didn't have to grow up a revolutionary to be a revolutionary. When you decide that change in the world, you become a revolutionary, because the word revolution is to bring about change. It's not about handcuffed, beaten by the police, or run on a run or drag. It's about the work you do, and it's no levels to it. We can't put one person's more important than the other. We are all in. We are all in. All have a job to do. So
that's right.
I need to do all this, Kalonji, but I guess
no. I'm sitting here because just listening. And I'm like you, trying not to get emotional, but at the same time I'm smiling, because the thing is, just what you just said, and I'm gonna tell you, Efua is not a talker. I'm gonna just tell you that right now. You know what I'm saying? I've been knowing her damn near 25 years, and she ain't much for words. And at least one of her sisters I've been knowing equally, but she just started talking to me about 3 years ago, so I ain't gonna talk about that. However, what I will say is, just listening to what you're saying, and I'm thinking and being grateful, because you mentioned Baba Matulu, you mentioned Baba Sekou and Baba Bilal. This platform we are grateful because, one, these are folks that I looked at as heroes before I ever met them. These are folks who I studied. These are folks who I had posters on the wall, free them all posters. I fought for, so on and so forth. I wrote, and then all of a sudden, you know, I'm learning from them. You know what I'm saying? So part of what you said, when you look at this particular platform, we don't care if we get 1 million views or not. We are archiving. We are educating. This is political education. We are grateful because Dr. Mutulu Shakur's memorial, we broadcasted on his platform. You can find it. Baba Sekou, we did a tribute for him while he was alive. You know what I'm saying? With tons of folks, some of our greatest. Baba Bilal, we did a tribute thanks to his family while he was alive, so we were able to show the love. We didn't have to wait till they were gone. We didn't say we don't have a whole bunch of money to go. We brought it to the people. You know what I'm saying? And that I'm saying that not for no damn bragging rights, but because of the fact that nothing's worse, I can imagine, than a soldier or a general dying in the battlefield, feeling alone. Nothing's worse than someone who has fought.
That's right.
In many cases, longer than some of you listening have been alive. I've been in the movement going on 40 years myself. That's just me. So imagine what they've been doing, what they've done. And I've learned so much, and I'm so grateful. That's why when folks be talking that bullshit, I don't care, because I know you don't know what you're talking about. And I know that, like you said earlier, Charles, you do it. Outwork us. So for me, I tell people quick, I'm in Atlanta still because of Baba Bilal and Efua Sunni-Ali. That's it. I came here to fight on behalf of Imam Jamil. Man, I had to go to war with some of these folks. You know what I'm saying? Because of the fact that people become complacent and they want to control. Folks want to be gatekeepers at the poorest level.
Yeah.
You can find at the homeless shelter, somebody still trying to be a gatekeeper. You ain't even got no damn gate and you trying to be a gatekeeper. You know what I'm saying? Man, but Madia, if you could just give us a brief bio of who your parents are and what's going on Sunday, because we will be broadcasting Baba Bilal's services, celebration. And it don't even sound right me saying services, because the last time I saw him at your house, we were still laughing. He was hardly able to talk, and he still was talking to the very end. He's still cracking jokes. We had to leave early because I wanted him to keep his breath. You know what I'm saying? That's how that was. That's the kind of man that was. But if you don't mind, because I know that March 6th was, many of us know it as Ghanaian Independence Day, but for many of us, we know it as one of the births of one of the greatest women and leaders that I've met in my entire life. So if you don't mind telling us about that, and we can just hop on.
Yeah, so my mother, Nandi Bilal Sunni-Ali, was born March 6, 1948, and she passed away June 17th, 2016. And she passed away in my home, surrounded by all my brothers and sisters, family and friends, in my father's arms. My mother was a very strong woman, warrior to the end. She couldn't speak for most of the last 9 months of her life because she had a stroke. But one thing she did to represent her strength, she always put her fist up. And she would mouth, "Free the land" to us, and and say certain things. So we knew to the end she was still saying "free the land." She was still reminding us to carry it on, to remember who we are and the jobs we have to do. And I will say her strength was so powerful, because I remember when we brought her home from the hospital, they told us that half of her brain was gone. I remember when I unplugged the brain, she lived for a whole day and a half after that. And during that time, she opened one eye and looked around at every room. This strong this woman was. She wanted to make sure that she was able to look everybody in the eye that was there in her last moments, taking her last breath. My mother, was it's so much. We're writing books, y'all, so I can't even. It's a lot. But she was a warrior. She was a legion in the New African Legionnaires. She was a RNA. She was Minister of Defense, Minister of Information after her father, Elijah Adegbalola, my grandfather. She was at one point, she was the only female who was part of the Black Legions of the Republic of New Africa. That's the type of woman. My mother was not going to back down. She was fearless. When I say fearless, meaning like she taught us, it doesn't matter who it is. You always walk, stand, and speak with your head held high. You don't let nobody, especially this government, tell you what to do, how to do, and who you are. And to this day, I remember those words. I remember those instructions, and I pass them on to my children, I don't have grandchildren yet, but my great nieces and nephews. Them know when they put put your head up. We don't put our heads down around here.
That's right.
You getting in trouble or not, you always keep your head up. You look people straight, and you show them respect, and you will receive that respect. So, there's so many lessons that my mother taught us. And actually, just saying that, we did a series on my mother on our podcast. One of our first episodes was Efua Taught Me, because we launched it on her birthday about 3. And so, if y'all want to go back, you can see that. We interviewed my father, Bilal Sunni-Ali. We've interviewed so many people. So, we interviewed Mama Tamu Kanyama, part of the RNA 11. We've done quite a few things, because as Kalonji explained, this is history. This is historical. We are taking the information and we are putting it in place for our future. My father, Baba Bilal Sunni-Ali, whom we are celebrating his life this weekend, this Sunday, actually. He passed away December 30th, 2024, in my home. In his home. We built him a home on our land. We live on free land, everybody. We have freed the land, 100 acres. And my father lived on our land for the last 3 years. I took care of him through different battles of his ailments. And for the last 6 months, I was his steady caregiver. 2 months prior to him passing, he decided we weren't going to go to the hospital anymore. And we did everything. We converted his house into a hospital room, the same I did for my mother. And my father, as Kalonji said, my father was talking until the last moments, hours before he passed. He said his proud when the nurse came and asked him, and after she asked him some more questions, he just looked at her, but he wanted her my name. I know who I am. And so Bilal Sunni-Ali, born July 13th, 1948, passed December 30th, 2024, was a warrior. My father taught me how to be quiet at the times that we need to be quiet, speak up when we need to, and sometimes just watch and pay attention. And he also taught me about time and respecting time and being true to the art of who you are. My father was a musician, a well-known saxophonist and flutist, and he played the harmonica and the clarinet. He played with Gil Scott Heron and the Midnight Band. And as a child, I was like, okay, okay, you did that. Like, okay. But now I'm like, that was so cool. Like my daughter this morning, we were looking at an album that my father's on, in the one of their first albums, and she was like, man, Pop was, his grandchildren call him Pop. She was like, Pop was so cool, man. I knew he was cool, but he was cool. And And one thing before he passed, maybe like 2 weeks before he passed, I said, Daddy, what do you want for your celebration of life? And he said, I want a concert. And he said, get all the baddest cats in the world. He said, because I was a bad cat. And I said, okay, Daddy. And so we got him Sunday. You know, this ain't going to be a typical, you know, we are the world type celebration. Like, we're going to really celebrate. Have a concert. We're going to have a musical tribute for such a warrior, such a musical inspiration to people. They called him Spirit, and his spirit is all up in this. He's all up in all of us. And, you know, I'm just honored to be able to celebrate my father. You know, yeah, I'm a daddy's girl. So, you know, life has been definitely shaken up, you know, not having that pillar, my Superman, you know, my daddy here. But I'm grateful that I was able to hold his hand, and my siblings and I, we were able to be there, whether it was virtually or in person, grandchildren, to send him up to the Most High, you know, and back to my mother and his comrades that have gone before him in peace. Peace. And he went, you know, in his style, just looking at us like, okay, y'all got this. And one thing, you know, we told him, Daddy, we got this. It's okay. You can go. And you can go and know that what you did was everything was worth it. And that's one thing he told us. He watched one of our episodes one day. I know I'm going on. I'm sorry.
It's all good. It's all good.
He watched one of our episodes one day with Kasise Siddiqui, actually. And he watched every episode religiously. He'd be like, when does it come on? Da, da, da. And every time he right after it goes off, he would either text us crying emojis or saying how proud he was. And this one time he said, this episode reminded me that it was all worth it. And when he because it was like, wow, you know, to be able to give him that in his life is powerful. And I'm grateful that he was able to experience the thankfulness in live person, you know, to experience that and to be able to take that within his spirit, that it was all worth it, that everything they did was worth it. So, yes, Sunday, I'm not giving out the location, everybody, because you had to RSVP. But if you did not RSVP, we are at full capacity, you know, by the grace of the Creator. So many people love my father. But we will be streaming live here on Black Power Media at 2 p.m. this whole celebration. So you are all invited. Everybody, you don't have to RSVP for this part. You are all invited to tune in and on the live stream and send your love, your accolades, whatever you want to my father, to my mother, to Uncle Sekou, Uncle Matula, because they all up there. They partying. We down here like, what we gonna do next? They're like, yep, did that, feet up, chilling, fist in the air. They, you know, we talk about how they had a party. Every time one of them made it up, they had another party. They just partying. And then all to us. And so we got to continue, you know, with that fight, but we got to continue it in the joyfulness. You know, we can't go into this defeated, because this war, it got so many different faces to it. We got to know how to maneuver through. And that's one thing that all of them taught us, is how to maneuver through and when to maneuver through. And we got to listen for those signs and do it accordingly. So that's it. Thank you, Kalonji.
Hey, before, you know what I'm saying? And again, you know, I appreciate you laying out what you just did. You know, and definitely, you know, salute to all of the ancestors that you just named. And, you know, really just hearing it's refreshing, because for so long, you know, we pour libation for so many people throughout the years. But some of our greatest that we had the experience to grit our teeth with and to grow and learn from, you know, are people that we can look to, we can call on, who left examples. You know what I mean? You can't talk about Asada without talking about Sekou.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? You can't talk about a Gil Scott Heron without a Bilal Sunni-Ali. You can't talk about man, Imam Jamil. I mean, on the real, I was on the international committee supporting Imam Jamil Alameen before it became IJAN with Baba Bilal, and I can remember there being a point where there was 3 of us.
Yep.
Crazy Saeed, and that's not saying 3 supporters, but there was 3 of us together every day. Madia's Uncle Saeed, myself, and Baba Bilal. I mean, I ain't gonna let you deny your Uncle Saeed, and but I could just remember the one thing about Baba Bilal is every single day it was something about Imam Jamil Alameen. I've never, with the exception of someone like Pam Africa fighting for Mumia, the consistency outside of blood family. You wasn't gonna have Bilal Sunni-Ali on nobody's stage without him either having an Imam Jamil t-shirt on, if he couldn't talk about it, or you was gonna see him talking about it, or whatever the case is. And he is an example. And I'm sure Imam Jamil Alameen feels that, because he knows in his heart and soul that if there's one person, there's a song, I believe Sting sung, and it was like it had to be me. You know what I'm saying? If there's one person you can count on, one person you could depend on, it had to be me. It must be me. And that's who Baba Bilal Sunni-Ali was. Humbled his own self. You wouldn't even know his legacy, because he was an example of propping up another individual who he considered his leadership. And I want to point out as well, I took my Shahada in Imam Jamil's masjid with Baba Bilal and Efua's Uncle Saeed. I know you're gonna bust me in my mouth when you see me Sunday. But it is it is so many stories that can be told. Make sure you all check out the memorial this Sunday at 2 p.m. EST for Baba Bilal Sunni-Ali's celebration, because we're not going to just call it a memorial, because we already know that he was definitely not no sad man, and he was always down to fight, and he's always down to laugh, and he was definitely for me, Bilal Sunni-Ali can never be gone. Efua Fulani can never be gone, because they live in me, and that's me being selfish. I'm borrowing a piece of them, and I'm just saying that. And I want to point out too, because you talk about Efua Fulani. Efua Fulani was a singer as well, and she sang with folks like Mariam Makeba, and her face is in my head right now, Nina Simone. Yes. So you're talking about legacy upon legacy. But listen though, go ahead.
I did want to say one thing, and then I will let it go. I was like 2 weeks before my father passed. I remember IGN had a call. It was either 2 weeks or a week, but he was still trying to be on Zooms, y'all. Okay. He was like, yeah, I need you to get on the Zoom. And I'm like, Daddy, what? So I'm like, okay, Dad, whatever you want. So I get on the Zoom. I'm like, do you want to speak? He said, no, you speak for me. I said, okay. And he told me what to say, and I said it. He said, bring out the points that you expressed to me. So I brought it out, and I just say that to say, like, what you said about Imam, my father, that was his fight till the end. He did not play about freeing Imam Jamil or any of the political prisoners, but right. Imam Jamil was one of his longest lasting, campaigns, I guess you could say, that he helped organize, and he devoted his time, his everything. He, like he manipulated different things and utilized those situations to promote, to inform That's what he likes to say. Educate and inform the people. Politicize political education of who Imam Jamil, formerly H. Rat Brown, was. You know, like they like to say, what is it? Where did rap go? Or it's a saying they say. I can't even think of it. I know Kalonji know it, but he would wear his, even when he would get dressed, he would make sure he found one of his Imam Jamil shirts. My father had a collection of shirts. You'd be like, dang, where you get that from? And it would say something. It would be so important, you know. So that's just a reminder to all of us, you know. Ain't no time to get tired, because we do get, but there's no such thing as getting sick and tired and doing it. You can have the thought, because we're human, but don't take the action of it. You know, keep fighting, keep fighting, keep fighting, keep fighting. Free them all, free the land by any means necessary. Whatever we have to do, because they did it. They did it. They did it, and they're still doing it. Assata Shakur is still in exile. She still does not have the freedom to hug her daughter and grandchildren like she wants to. We're still having our political prisoners in prison, sick, dying in these cages that they like to call jails or homes or whatever they want to call them. These cages, and nobody can hold their hand. You know, I'm thankful I was able to hold my father's hand and my Uncle Seku's hand when they were passing. I'm thankful that we were able to get Uncle Matulu out. And like you said, so many others who were able to come home and then pass on in the loving arms of their family. But so many are not able. Imam Jamil right now is facing stage 4 cancer. He may not be able to get home with his family. So we got to keep the fight going. We got to keep the prayers. We got to keep our fist up. We got to do this work.
That's right.
Do it. No, and don't try to compare and do it like nobody else. Do the work that the Creator put in you to do. This is not a competition. This is not a competition, people. It's not a, oh well, I'm so and so's daughter. I don't care about none of. I don't drop names. People know me. They be like, oh, your parents are so and so. Okay, but I'm doing work. This is what my job is. I can't live off of my parents' names. That's not what they taught me to do. So let's do the work, everybody. We have to do the work. And first thing that comes with work is getting educated. The political education and the history of the movement. Don't go out here trying to start a new organization. Talking about I'm the new this, that, da. Get the education and truly do what our ancestors, our leaders, our heroes and sheroes did, and complete the mission. And like I said, you don't have to do it like them. You don't have to go to prison to complete the mission. You don't have to die. You know, if that happens, it happens. But do the work. Do the work. And that's it. I'm sorry, I didn't mean turn this into like a little thing.
Yeah, you did good. I want to mention, before you leave, I want to mention one other person, Ruchell McGee.
Yes.
Ruchell, this brother was down for over 50 years.
67 altogether.
That's right. And a lot of our people don't know who Jonathan Jackson was. You know, 18 years old, you know, say, hey, the gig is up, y'all. One in the courtroom, Marion County, and said he was looking for his brother George Jackson, but I think June Christmas, Ruchell and some others came out, and Jonathan Jackson gave up his life trying to get his brother out. 18 years old. You know, we gotta look at the youth, like little Bobby Hutton, little Bobby, first Panther to die, and then South Africa, little 13-year-old Hector Peterson, you know, died. So a lot of our young people, everybody, all of our young people should honor Jonathan Jackson and little Bobby Hutton and Hector Peterson. I mean, you're talking 17, 16, 18, 13 gave up their lives for the movement. And also want to mention Matulu again. You know, a lot of that, and you mentioned, well, Princess, we weren't like revolutionaries because we couldn't make it in society. You know, we just to go against the capitalist system because I don't have no education, I don't have no talent, I don't have no skills. So let me take my little poor, skillless self and fight the system. You're talking about doctors,
Yes.
creative, genius musicians, talking about lawyers, teachers, every profession you can think of. That's what revolutionary was. Stokely Carmichael, Kwame Ture, was a genius. My man went to the Bronx High School of Science. He could have been anything in society. And certainly Matulu, acupuncturist, and all that he knew, he could have been anything. He could have made big money doing, instead of making big money, he saved big lives, of drug addicts and saved their lives. I remember, I'll never forget Matulu for this. My son Jawanza and I went to visit him when he was in Atlanta, jail in Atlanta. He sat for an hour with my son, talking more to my son than like, what y'all gonna do to get me out of here? No, he was talking to my son, and it left an impression on my son that he'll never ever forget. So when he started, fading a bit, and I remember them, they said his lawyers told me, and his son Talib said, Charles, they wanted to check to see if he was all there, and they gave him a little test. They asked him who he was, and he said his name and what day it is, and he said it. But he said, then they asked him, who's the president? Trump was the president. Who's the president? He said, Charles Barron. Everybody then knew he was all right. They said, once he said Charles Barron, they said, he's messing with them. He's all right. So, I mean, I just love these warriors, and they cannot be forgotten. We got to make sure that we always raise that. And people said, are you afraid? Of course I'm afraid. But you don't let fear stop you. Anybody that tells you they're not afraid of dying and all of that stuff, they're lying. But it's not being afraid. It's feel the fear and do it anyway. Don't let fear turn you into a coward. Because for some of us, who are spiritual, taking this life, this means I'll be in paradise. Not that I want to go anywhere anytime soon, but it's just not the same kind of understanding of death that other people have. And what if you take all of our material things? So what? I'll be hurt. I'll be asking Kalonji, can I bunk up somewhere, me and Inez? But we'll make it one way or other.
We got you, brother.
Yeah, I know. Look, I'm saying, so don't, young people say, now I got to get a job. You're going to eat. You're going to have a roof over your head. As a matter of fact, you're going to have a nice roof. Revolutionaries can have nice homes and can have a nice car to drive and can make a little something, wear nice clothing. Doesn't mean that you have to be, poor and you can't have any material thing. You can't exploit people to gain any wealth. That you can't do. You can't rip off people. You can't be a capitalist to get a house and to get a job. You got to try to be a revolutionary nationalist or a revolutionary socialist to get it and still get a job and still and at the same time tear this very fabric of the system down as you move and do your things. So I don't know if I could one of the answers Anthony D said, could I explain why local politics is I felt that's important over national politics. You want me to do that now or? Wait.
Yeah, we're gonna bid Princess Madia a farewell. It's funny when I reached out to her earlier, she's like, "Look, man, how long it's gonna be?" I said, "Oh, it's just gonna be a few minutes." so
precious time. You gave us some precious time.
Our time might be up, but anyway, definitely appreciate you. We're gonna see you on Sunday, sis. Again. Folks can check out the memorial, the celebration for Baba Bilal Sunni-Ali on this Sunday at 2 p.m. EST. I'll be in the building. Y'all can check us out. I'm going to be there you know what I mean? So, I'm just telling y'all that right now. You should have got your ticket. But anyway, definitely we appreciate you, Madia. We'll see you on Sunday and stay on the right side of things.
Yes, Asante Sana, free them all, free the land.
Free them all.
Black
free them all.
Everything that goes with that.
No
Peace,
doubt.
everybody.
Peace. Be safe. That was Princess Madia, daughter of Baba Bilal Sunni-Ali and Efua Sunni-Ali. I'm here live and direct with Baba Charles Barron. Charles Barron, we went to church a few minutes ago, didn't we?
Oh, yeah, we did.
Beautiful
Absolutely,
thing.
man.
Beautiful thing. Beautiful thing.
I believe in a more powerful force than I, which is why, no matter, I'm highly confident as an individual, but I'm more God confident than I am, self-confident. And I have extremely high self-confidence, but I'm more God confident because I do believe there's a greater power in the universe. And it's not no spookism,
Right.
where some people think that Jesus is going to come back and I am into Black revolutionary Christianity, but it's more of a revolutionary kind of Black liberation theology. Whether you're a Muslim or a Christian, you should be about Black liberation and Black power and unwrap the European contamination of the Islam and of Christianity. Because as Dr. Ben said, all major religions generated and came out of Africa, whether they were African traditional religions, Islam, or Christianity, whatever, Judaism. It was all about us, Black people, African people. So I live every day saying, hey, bring it, because I'll be ready. I'm going to be rumbling to my last breath. On that, the brother asked a very, very important question. Why local politics and not putting a whole lot of emphasis on national politics? We say think globally, but act locally.
Right.
So while we studying what's happening on the globe, and there is a revolution in Sahel region of Africa, I'll mention that in a bit, in Mali, Burkina Faso, and Chad, and Niger, and others are joining the Sahel movement. And then there's the BRICS movement, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, along with now another 9 countries, including Indonesia, where the Bandung Conference took place, dealing with revolution back in 1955. And also Egypt joined, and Ethiopia joined, and Nigeria joined, and Cuba is joining, and Burkina Faso is joining, all are part of BRICS, which I'll get into in a minute, so that we can really understand that we're living in revolutionary times. The American empire, literally, not figuratively, not rhetorically, is declining. The American dollar as a currency, literally, not rhetoric, is being devalued, declining. It's still very powerful, so is the empire, but it's on the decline. So this reaction to its decline is that they put in Trump, because Trump would represent, with most white Americans believe, that we got to make America great again. And it's not just to racist things domestically. They're talking about internationally, how America has lost respect and wars. Remember, they didn't win nothing. They didn't win in Afghanistan. They didn't win in Vietnam. They didn't win in Iraq. With all of this super weaponry, Huey Newton said the spirit of the people is greater than the technology of our oppressors. So with all of that, they have not won a war. And they're losing today. So when you look at first internationally, then we'll go locally. Okay, is that all right?
Yes, sir. Yeah. Hey, listen, you the new co-host on Fridays, and you don't even know it. But go ahead.
So here's what's happening internationally first, and then I'll tell you why it's so important for us to focus on local politics. And that's where real power is. And we demonstrated that. And I'll show you how to get it and how to hold it and how to act after you get it. But listen, internationally, this is what's blowing my mind. In 1944, in 1944 in Brettonwood, New Hampshire, they had the Brettonwood Conference. About 40 some odd nations came together mostly European nations, and Russia was a part of that, and a few Asian nations here and there. And this was after Winston Churchill and Franklin Delano Roosevelt got together in 1942 after Imperialist War II, I believe what Amalia Shatella said, it's not World War I and World War II, it's Imperialist War I and Imperialist War II, because that's what the wars were about, imperialism. How can they take over the global economy? And so England and France were the superpowers, but they said, you know what? The imperialist war damaged our countries so much that America, you take the lead now. We'll have gold to back up the dollar. We'll create the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank, all controlled by America and Europe. And we'll create, in 1946, a United Nations. In 1920, it was the League of Nations, which evolved to the United Nations. So here you had in 1944, Bretton Woods, and then United Nations starts, United States controls that. And then 3 years later, 1945, NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization starts. That's a military coalition of all the European countries and the West and the United States. All of that was happening in the 1940s, you know, and they put all of that in place to what? Globalization, to take control over the global economy, So they started the G7. You know, the G7 nations, those were the imperialist nations. Those are the nations that got rich off of imperialism and colonialism and neo-colonialism. That's what the G7, England, United States, France, Germany, you had Japan, two others, but that's the G7. And the G7 was controlling 30%. Y'all stay with me for a minute. I'll be finishing in a minute. The G7 controlled the gross national product, the GDP. Important to know what that is. The gross domestic product. And that is the buying power, the trading power, the currency power, the economic power of a nation. So with G7, those nations represented, Canada was a part of it, and I'm up to 6. The G7, they controlled 30% of the world's gross domestic product. That's the power to trade, the power to invest, the power to get people to borrow money from you. So they controlled all of that. And they represented 10% of the world's population. That's what they represent now. There's 8 billion people in the world, and the G7 represents 10% of that world population and 30% of the gross domestic product. Hold that for a minute. So that means that 80 to 90% of the world's trading is done with the dollar, and it's done with American power. They had it going on. Here comes BRICS. BRICS says, you know what? Now that's the polar north, what I just mentioned. BRICS represents the polar south. That's Africa, Asia, the Caribbean, and Latin America. These are the countries that were oppressed and suffered colonialism. So you wonder why these countries are struggling economies and the North are rich, not because they're smarter, because they were imperialists, colonialists, rapists. That's how that happened. So they rolling. Now here comes BRICS. Remember, 10% of the population is G7 and 30% of the gross domestic product. Here comes BRICS. Brazil, Russia, India, China, South America, Nigeria, all these countries now, they now, as we speak, they represent over 55% of the world's population. 4.4 billion. They also represent nearly 40% of the gross domestic product, the buying power. So now they're overshadowing G7. For the first time in the history of the planet, these countries now said, you know, the hell with the IMF. Later for the World Bank. Later for the American dollar. Not completely. It's still a revolutionary process. So they didn't do what the EU did, the European Union. They established a euro as a currency. So BRICS doesn't have a BRICS currency, but they have a de-dollarization movement that's saying we're going to trade with our local currencies, our national currencies from our countries, and not the dollar. You're going to understand why Trump and Musk is up there, because the devaluation of the dollar. So now here comes BRICS, and they said, you know what? We're going to start the contingent reserve agreement to replace the IMF. So the countries of BRICS put money into that, billions. And we're going to start the new development bank to take the place of the World Bank. And we're going to trade with each other. And we're going to invest in each other. And we're going to use our own currencies. This is major, huge. So Trump is the response to that. All right? Y'all think y'all taking over? Canada, I'm going to annex you. Canada says, the hell you are. So now they're fighting each other. And Greenland, we're going to take you too. And the EU, the European Union said, no, oh, no, you ain't. You know, so they're fighting each other. And Panama, we're taking the canal. They said, no, you're not taking no canal. So he said, I'll bring the army over to take it. And then they said, the Gulf of Mexico is going to be the Gulf of America. Oh, no, you're not. So they're fighting back. All of this is happening, brothers and sisters, because the American empire is declining. It's dying. It's crumbling, and so is its currency. So now you see more want to join BRICS. The significance of Cuba joining BRICS is because now the blockade on Cuba is not going to have the kind of impact if these BRICS countries say, we'll trade with Cuba. We'll be glad to. So if you're talking to 4.4 billion people versus 330 million people in America, and you're going to tell America and to all you countries, if you try to deal with Cuba, we're going to deny you of American aid and all of that. And BRICS says, keep your aid. And the Sahel revolutionaries in Burkina Faso, we don't want your money. So now all of that is happening, and Trump is representing the dying capitalist beast. That's why he's dangerous, but it is dying. So here, all of this is going on, and now what rises up? Sahel, along with BRICS. So now Burkina Faso says, you know what? France, get the hell out of Africa. Take America with you, and y'all leave the gold behind, and the uranium in Niger, leave that behind, because now it's going to benefit us. So BRICS has a coup d'etat. And people say, oh, that's a military intervention. You got to watch out for that. Yeah, well, you know the government they took out the neo-colonial puppet government that the French election rigs put in place. So they kicked all of them out. Brother Ibrahim Traore is 36 years old. And the other brothers and sisters, they said, gold of Burkina Faso for us. They blocked the exportation of their gold, their uranium, their coltan, their copper, all of that, cobalt. Y'all can't take it no more. Diamonds, you can't have it no more. They blocked it. Burkina Faso is the first country I've ever heard of that said rejected foreign aid and wiped out their $4.7 billion debt. They wiped it out because they produced their own gold. They processed their own gold, and they had the 21st century agricultural machinery so they can get their food, everything. Burkina Faso has an electric car. Burkina Faso is really saying, come on, Africans in America, come home. You can be citizens with us, have some dual citizenship. Burkina Faso. Niger kicked out France and said, leave the uranium behind. This is the uranium that France stole from Niger and lit up a third of Europe while Niger stayed in the dark. Well, that ain't happening no more. And then Chad said, hey, kicking them out too. And everybody's, talking about kicking them out. And they're doing their own thing. So between the Sahel revolution and BRICS, America is going down. Now let's go domestically. So while that's happening, Trump's going crazy. The duopoly party, the Democrats and the Republicans, they are administrators of a colonial capitalist system. This is colonial capitalism, and we got to put racism in its proper perspective. I think we should fight against racism, of course, but it is colonialism, because you got to watch out when you solely fight against racism, because even racists today are against racism. So you got to really watch out that when you say it, you're fighting against racism, or you're fighting for, the what do you call them? DEI, the diversity, equity, inclusion. Look at the words. Look at the words. You're talking about being included into a colonial capitalist system. You're talking about equality in, which you'll never get, a colonial capitalist system. And you're talking about diversity, which means white women and white men and Asians and others. You Black Africans, we at the bottom of that diversity list. So don't let misleadership like Al Sharpton and some others lead us into these boycotts. I boycotted, I didn't buy, but for what? You boycott Target, right? Target get hit by a few billions, it said, and Costco's bragging about their sales being up. And Target, it's not like they brought diversity back. They didn't bring their programs back. They still hire a lot of Black workers on the plantation at Target. So don't let them lead us into these kinds of movements that are not talking about radical systemic change. So domestically, you see Trump and his Republicans are imploding. They can't even go to town hall meetings without their own racist cracker constituents cussing them out. They can't even have it. They said, the Republicans, stop having town hall meetings because our own people are beating you up. They say, hey, Trump, you told us you was going to make America great again. I voted for you. Now you got Musk up there firing me. I don't have a job and blah, 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 blah. They're imploding. Then the Democrats, cowards. Hakeem Jeffrey is a coward, a puppet coward. Have no more fight against us in Africa than he has against the Republicans and Trump. He, the head of the Democratic Party, by the way, he shouldn't have been the head of Barbara Lee. Barbara Lee should have had that position, but Nancy Pelosi could not control Barbara Lee, who was with the Panthers and everything, and used to be with Ron Dellums, couldn't control Barbara Lee, who was there for 23 years. So 10 years in, and she gets Hakeem Jeffries, her boy, she gets them to vote for him because she can control him. And so he gets up there and says, we can't do nothing because the Republicans have everything. They have the House, they have the Senate, and they have the presidency. Nancy Pelosi then slams Chuck Schumer. Chuck Schumer voted for the continuing resolution. How am I doing with time? I'm all right?
You're good. You're good. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Keep rapping.
So Nancy and the Democrats now, it's about these budgets. The fiscal year for the feds is October 1st to September 30th. That's their fiscal year. Every year, they have 12 appropriation bills that they have to pass for the budget to be good for the year. If they don't pass those bills, like they didn't, by September 30th, the government shuts down last year. So they passed what they call a continuing resolution. That is a bunch of temporary money so that the government doesn't shut down. They can still cut stuff and all of that. And so they did a CR from September 26th to December 30th of last year, and they went back to negotiating for the 12 bills, appropriation bills, so they could have the budget for the year. Failed again. So December 30th, they had 20th, they had to do another CR. And that lasted to March 14th. That CR is now with Trump in office. The Republicans don't even invite the Democrats to the table to negotiate the CR. They diss the Democrats, pass the CR because they're in control now, or do the CR, and say to the Democrats in the Senate, pass it or the government shuts down and it's your fault. So cowardly, Chuck Schumer, the senator from New York and head of the Senate Democrats, passes it. I had to stop the government from shutting down. No, you didn't, because they wasn't going to shut down. They would have come up with something. Nancy Pelosi disses Chuck Schumer publicly and tells Hakeem, you better not think about passing it. Puts him in line. So now they're battling. And let me tell you what's happening, y'all. Domestically, colonial capitalism is dying. And listen why I say local politics is most important, and I'll leave it here. The federal government, the federal budget is $6 trillion. $6 trillion. America is a debtor nation. They're in debt to the tune of $36 trillion. When you have a $36 trillion debt, I want to know where the hell did all that money go to? Sure didn't come to the hood. And who did you borrow it from? They're in nearly $1 billion debt to China. They're in debt to Japan. And yet this is some great globally, this not a creditor nation, they're a debtor nation. So all of this is happening. And here comes the federal budget. So they're messing around with that. Now they passed another CR, continuing resolution, and that's for all the way to September. What they're trying to get the Democrats and all of them to do is to cut Medicaid and Medicare enough and other social programs so they can give the billionaires a tax break. Because, when you do a budget, you have to have revenue, you have to have expense. And how do you balance their revenue and expense? You either borrow, increase revenue, or cut spending. That's how they balance budgets. I don't care if it's $1 trillion or $100. That's the fundamental balance in the budget. So now you got all of this happening on a national level. Now check out locally. Let me just take my New York, and this is in every state. This is why the power is in Black radical politics locally. When I did a power analysis and I said, whoa, the City Council of New York passes the budget, not the mayor. The City Council of New York passes whether land or projects can be developed on city-owned land or not. The City Council passes all the laws, local laws, and the City Council has oversight over all city agencies. That's power. So I said, how am I going to stop gentrification in my beloved East New York community? I'm going to win the city council seat, because they would have to come see the city council member if they want to build in my district. Sure enough, we won. They had to come see the Black Panther and my man behind me. They looked at this picture in the office, and the developers sat down and they said, we're going to build affordable housing. Affordable to who? I defined affordability with the area median income being that of the people in my district. So we stopped gentrification in my district. We stopped Walmart from coming in to my district. Why? We had the power. See, there's a difference between power and influence.
That's right. That's right.
When you have power, you are making the final decision. on what's in your best interest in your community. When you have power, you are deciding what's going to be built and what's not going to be built in your community. That's power. When you have to march, scream, holler, and demonstration to persuade people in power to make those decisions, that's influence. So we, unlike Harlem, unlike Bedford-Stuyvesant in Brooklyn, unlike Crown Heights in Brooklyn, unlike Hakeem Jeffries' district, Clinton Hill in Brooklyn, he's a rising star. He's bad. He's this and that. In his backyard, when he was the assembly member in the 57th Assembly District in Brooklyn, it was 71% Black. When he left with Tish James, the Attorney General, who was the city council member, it is now 32% Black and 38% white because they passed bills and passed projects that they allowed to gentrify Hakeem's neighborhood. And he lost his seat to the Democratic Socialists of America. His protege couldn't keep it. He lost his seat. This man is not power. He's a puppet of Nancy Pelosi, and they're calling him a rising star like they do other Democrats. Rising star. Be aware, once you hear that rising star from the capitalist propaganda machine, you know these are sellout Negroes, that they're setting up a neo-colonial situation. So I say New York State, check this out. New York State's budget is $252 billion. And that's Kathy Hochul, $252 billion. We have a Black head of the state assembly, a Black head of the Senate. So the legislature that passes the budget have Black heads, neo-colonial puppets. $252 billion, $22 billion in an unrestricted reserve account, in addition to the 252. That's what Nancy Pelosi has. Eric Adams, a neo-colonial cop, Republican, conservative, sellout. His corruption is irrelevant compared to his policies.
Right.
He has a $115 billion budget with $8 billion in a reserve, unrestricted. So now you're talking in one state, all that money. And you know how much the federal government contributes to the state budget of New York? $12 billion. And $2 to $3 billion to the city of New York. So if Donald Trump cut every penny to New York, they have enough money to double it. They had enough money over the decades to eradicate poverty in this democratic state. They had enough money to provide us free health care. I was a part of a bill, co-sponsor a bill where we could have had free health care. I was a part of a bill that had affordable housing for the majority of our people. Or they can wipe all of that out in New York State alone. So now I say we go local. We got to get rid of the neo-colonial Black puppets. Kwame Osagyefo Nkrumah said in his book, neo-colonialism is the last stage of imperialism. They're on their way out, so they're putting the Black puppets in place so that you can cry about Blacks who are being let go from MSNBC or my man, what's his name on CNN, Van Jones, a pathetic apologist for the Democrats. Yeah, the Democrats. So don't think, oh man, we would have been so much better off if we would have went with Kamala Harris. Let me tell you something. The Democratic Party oppresses you and keeps you comfortable with your oppression. They make sure that you are oppressed, but you're comfortable with it. The Republican Party makes you very uncomfortable in your oppression, so you can see it. It's like Malcolm said, the fox that's going to smile at you, show you the teeth, and bite you, but with a smile. Or the wolf that shows you the fangs, and they're going to let you know that's Donald Trump. I'm coming to bite you. That's right. and I'm gonna let you
Think
see it.
about it.
Call it for all you want, but everything that's happening now, to an extent, while you were in your comfortable oppression with the Democrats, was always happening. Didn't start with Trump. Been going on. I'll stop there because I know I've been.
Hey, listen. Nah. I'm sitting here. I didn't even want to interject or intervene because this is what we need. We need folks to lay out the politics because of the fact that we're always talking political education on this platform, and we don't jump in too much of electoral politics on a level that you can. So it's a wonderful thing. I wanted to point out a few things. One, you mentioned Ibrahim Traore. Shout out to him. He actually just turned 37 a week ago. So he celebrated his 37th birthday. Of course, we know that Thomas Sankara was assassinated at age 37, and we pray that our brother Ibrahim continues to follow in his footsteps, but not in that way. You know what I mean? Hopefully, we can continue to safeguard him and protect him. You mentioned G7, and of course, G7 would be Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, the UK, and the United States. I think you might have forgot about Italy.
Italy. That's what I left out.
Yeah.
Thanks, man. Thanks.
And just for one other thing, because you laid out eloquently about BRICS, and I know someone in the chat said that you made it plainer than any other individual that we've run across, and indeed that is a clip that we will have because we want to make sure that folks understand what BRICS is. And of course, BRICS is Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. I know that in the talk you had made a mistake at one point and said South America, so we want to make sure that our folks are clear.
That's South Africa. Yeah,
it's all good. I know you weren't trying to be like Trump and change it to the Gulf of America.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you, man.
I'm riding shotgun.
Look, I'm all excited. I need help.
You laying it out. That's why the thing is, as Sister Efua said in the last segment, sometimes we have to know when to be quiet. And you was laying it out so well. We don't have to talk just because we have a mouth. I don't have to jump in and say, stand behind you. I'm gonna go ahead and let you get down because of the fact that you laid it out in a way that our people need to hear it. And you actually answered one of my questions about why electoral politics is important in our liberation movement. Indeed, many of us have been truthfully, anti-electoral politics. And I've said publicly on many occasions, if there are two politicians that I'm going to get behind, it would be Cynthia McKinney and Charles Barron. Now, there's a few.
Gotta make that three.
Of course. Well, I'm sorry, man. I
ain't letting you leave my queen out. Oh no.
Oh yeah. Now you were saying something. You try to get back right because you said something slick earlier. I forgot what it was.
There you go. Gotta get my
nobody say nothing about our dads. Yeah, I like that. But one of the things that you mentioned too, you talked about when they call you a rising star. And for us, we simply know that when these folks are talking about rising stars in regards to electoral politics, in particular, Black folks, we know that they're rising further up the buttocks of imperialism. You know what I'm saying? And they're rising all up in the cracks and crevices of colonialism and capitalism. And so basically, what eventually they will find, that they are in some deep shit. Because
real
yes. So they think that they can just, continue to travel and everything's gonna be all good. And they'll know in the end that these crackers don't give two damns about what they're talking about, how they're moving, so on and so forth. They are puppets. Hakeem Jeffries is, out of all the work that Dr. Leonard Jeffries did up in CUNY and other places throughout New York, with folks like Dr. Clark, Dr. Ben, James Smalls, etc., for his nephew to come and be such a sellout. It tells you, it shows you that being of the same bloodline don't make you the same pedigree. Because sometimes,
right.
because sometimes folks think that, well, that's such and such son. But then you see certain people that are in office right now whose parents were giants in this movement, and they've strayed because of the fact that they didn't have their finger on the pulse of not only the streets, but their fingers on the pulse of revolution. So we appreciate you coming in. You dropped so many jewels today. I don't know if Mama Inez is going to be down to keep you coming on, getting your tech right every week. But we need to have.
Kalonji, let me say this too, real quick.
Yeah.
As you said something very, very important. Ocasio, AOC,
yes,
and Bernie Sanders. So now they're out there trying to make it appear that they're going to be the fighting Democrats. Now, we registered as Democrats and we went in the Democratic primary. Operation Power, we're totally independent. We don't get no money for them. We don't go to their meetings. We know that 95% of our people in East New York are Democrats. So if you try to do anything else, you're not going to win. They're angry at Inez and I and Operation Power because they know we ain't no real Democrats. We strategically went into the Democratic primary and beat them at their own game. That's why they're angry with us. But also understand, just back to the international thing for a minute, we are not resting on BRICS. See, Africa has to be strong because we don't want to be recolonized by Russia or China.
That's right.
And the recolonization, this is why Ibrahim Traore is so important to study, and Thomas Sankara, one of the greatest African leaders we've ever had. We got to realize that China met with 53 African countries, and the African countries, the strong ones from the Sahel, said, listen, we'll deal with you, but it's going to be mutually beneficial. There'll be no economic colonization of Africa with China. China said, we're interested in a mutually beneficial relationship. That doesn't mean there's not some Chinese companies in Africa exploiting, particularly the weaker African nations. But they're not getting over in Burkina Faso. They're not going to get over in Mali. They're not going to get over in Niger and Chad, because the relationship now has to be mutually beneficial, a win-win. Ain't going to be no economic colonization by China. Hold that one. Secondly, when you think of China and Russia, and I'm not championing anything, but think of the colonizers of Africa. They were European nations. Y'all remember in 1884 when they carved up Africa? That was England, that was France, that was Belgium, it was all the European nations. Italy, even though they got their butt kicked in the Adwa battle in 1898 in Ethiopia, whooped their butts. They what's good. But you don't have China colonizing African countries. As a matter of fact, when I was growing up in the Panthers and in that time in the 60s, all of the people that I admired, America hated. I admired Ho Chi Minh. They said, oh, he's North Vietnam. He's a communist. I admired Kim Il-sung fighting for independence in North Korea, and he was a communist. Fidel Castro and Che Guevara, the Sandinistas, they admired Pinochet and Chile. I admired Salvador Allende, the socialists. So when you look at all of that and saw that America has a history of supporting dictators, Duvaliers in Haiti and all of that, that we came to conclude that China and Russia supported African liberation. Most of the African liberation movements was supported by China and Russia, and most of the colonialism came from Europe and the United States, and all of those countries in what they call in now NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. And remember, NATO and Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton murdered Muammar Gaddafi. who was talking about the United States of Africa, our own currency. All that BRICS is doing now, that's what Gaddafi was talking about for Africa, to build on what Kwame Nkrumah was about. And Gabriel Nasser from Egypt was also about that. So just looking at all of that stuff, and then how, and I like to come on again to make it really how we now beat the machine where you live. How can we now win these seats? This is not all a bunch of rhetoric. We did it. We beat the machine for 21 years and delivered all of that stuff that I talked about earlier. And at the same time, they had more money. They had more union support. They had more clergy support. And we beat them, even though, you know how we did it? Hard work.
That's right.
Hard work, not charisma, although some of us may have an ounce of it, but hard work. Somebody said, yeah, Charles, you won because you had name recognition. I did not come out of my mother's womb with name recognition.
Absolutely.
We got recognized because we outworked them. And no matter what, you can outwork them. And I want to come back and do a piece on how to beat the machine and then remain revolutionary. See, the battle, like Ocasio and them talking all that stuff, they supported Biden. And they were behind Kamala Harris. And they supported a budget of $800 billion for the Pentagon. And both parties support the genocide in the Congo because they want the minerals of the Congo. Both parties support that genocide. Both parties support the AFRICOM, building military bases in Africa. Both parties support the genocide in Palestine. Both parties support you. Both parties support you and them maintaining poverty in your communities. 30 and 40% poverty in every Black and brown community that both parties support in the richest country in the history of this planet.
Right on, right on. Listen, Baba Charles, the chat is lit up, and you know, we're getting all types of messages. This is one from Anthony D. You know, so we have Anthony D saying that Kalonji, we need Barron Fridays if he would bless us. We got Zariah. She's saying, I definitely want to hear more from Baba Charles Barron on here. My generation needs to hear this wisdom. I love how he speaks with simplicity and plain old common sense that definitely resonates. And a whole lot more. Now, word on the street, then we got Jeff Wilson. He trying to jack you, so you can't go to his neighborhood. He trying to get you to jacket.
Come on to the East New York.
He don't know. He tell him he must have missed earlier when you said that you just look like that. You know what I'm saying? He said he's 75, but he still got a, you know what I mean? So
I can handle myself.
Okay, he said he still got that ratchet. But anyway, to answer your question, Baba Charles Barron will have a show on the platform. Yes. We're working out dates right now. You know what I mean? I'm gonna go ahead. Can I officially say you are our newest host there on this platform, brother?
Yes, sir.
No doubt, no doubt.
Sir. With honor.
Yes,
with honor.
Yes. We love it. We love you. You and Mama Inez. Matter of fact, check them out today at 5 p.m. EST.
Oh yes,
on
yes.
WBAI, which is, I would declare WBAI one of our sister platforms because of the fact that they've been bringing truth, and as Brother Charles talks about, speaking truth to power for quite some time. You know what I mean? We always appreciate, you know, folks who can bring our messages of resistance to the forefront, because it's void in many places, in many cases. But definitely, Brother Charles, we appreciate what you're doing. You gave it to us raw this morning, and I think the people are loving it. Shout out to my man, Minister Servo over there. Give thanks for Baba Charles Barron for always dropping jewels for our people. Don't allow fear to make you a coward.
Right.
Listen.
Also, in terms of our Speaking Truth to Power program, it's streamed on WBAI.org. So you can catch it every week. It's called Speaking Truth to Power. This week we're going to be talking to some powerful sisters about some very, very important issues. And then also, I do have a book called Speaking Truth to Power. I don't use Amazon, but not that Barnes and Noble's all that much better, but we just don't use Amazon. But you can get it on Barnes and Noble online. It's a compilation of about 80, 90 articles that I've written since 1988 to the present, and I compiled them. Some interesting stuff. How to Beat the Machine is in there. Dare to Lead, how to develop your leadership skills. I had a leadership training company, and how to develop real strong leadership skills, and all history of reparations, and plus the important thing, the first article is revolution. What is it, and how do we make it in America?
Without a doubt, without a doubt. We're actually going to be putting together a Black Power book corner. So on the website, so we'll talk to you about that. Yeah, because we have so many different, so many of the folks that are on the platform are authors. We have folks like Dr. Joy James. We have folks like so many people. Professor Griff. We have Dr. Gerald Horn and others who are helping to make this thing happen. And you know, sometimes folks ask us about the numbers. Again, it's up to you. Help us promote. Help us to push this thing out. If you like what we talk about, drop a dime. You know what I'm saying? This is about our time. This is about our energy. And we're looking for liberation. We're not doing this to be the most popular platform on the internet. We're doing this because of the fact that we want to bring you the most truth on the internet. We want to make sure that we bring it from an African perspective, because unfortunately, there are platforms that are similar, but these particular platforms oftentimes they compromise the whole African part of it. You know what I'm saying? Folks are afraid to be African. Calling yourself an African in 2025 is like a revolutionary act. You know what I mean? Folks down to be anything but that. They're like, hold on, not that. I mean, that's just because you're declaring a form of independence like no other. You are declaring nationhood. You're declaring that you understand that before us there was none, and after us there will be no more except for the Creator. We are live and direct. We want to thank our brother Charles Barron, Mama Inez in the background. She was our official tech person today. Shout out to our sister Efua, who's on here as well. This Sunday, make sure you check out the memorial, the celebration for Baba Bilal Sunni-Ali, one of my jegnas, one of my teachers, one of the reasons that I am in Atlanta, Georgia right now. Definitely check us out. 2 p.m. we'll be broadcasting live right here on this platform. So continue to be strong, to be powerful. And Baba Charles, we appreciate you. Stay on the right side of the barricades.
Yes, sir, man. I always appreciate you for the platform. And remember, our struggle may be long, but the victory is certain. And the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. And we always say, life is hard if you take it by the yard, but it's a cinch if you take it inch by inch.
Look at that. Y'all didn't even know Baba Charles Barron was such a great poet and rapper. We had to have him and Cornel West have a rap battle on here one day. So
he wouldn't stand a chance. He wouldn't stand a chance.
He can't see you?
No, he wouldn't stand a chance. And if you want me to have a battle, I got to go up higher than Cornel West, man. You know, he's just not of my quality. Now that's my man. I'm just playing.
That's that New York stuff right there. See, that's what happened. That's that Harlem thing right there.
That's from playing basketball in the hood. You talk trash, you know.
Hey,
I'm not talking trash.
Hey man, we might have to have a basketball game 1-on-1 between you and Cornell.
Oh man, that would be in the battle. You don't like Cornell? Is that what you're trying to? You don't like him? You know what I will do to him on a basketball court? Oh my gosh! Please don't do that to Cornell, man. I like Cornell, man. Don't do that to him.
Hey, put in the chat if y'all want to see that happen. Anyway, we appreciate you, Baba Charles, man. Stay on point.
I appreciate you, man. Thank you. Appreciate your spirit, your knowledge, and your commitment.
We together on this track. We're going to leave with an outro by our sister, Sonny Patterson. Y'all stay safe, support Black Power Media. This is the Rise Up International Morning Show, and we out.
Sometimes the riot is a quiet one. Well, the battle is to love yourself and function in society where voices of reason are muted by anxiety, like gaining notoriety is selling your soul. So we tend to go no deeper than the shallow water level, trying to keep us overhead in the face of all the slurs and the stares, mentally frozen, paralyzed by fear of failure and success. So we lock, stock, barrel, running while it's crumbling. All these towers and they're babbling, but the baby's in the bath and the stash under the bed on my head, spinning from the circles and the puppets and the strings that they pull. Then we move. Reactionary warfare never produces winners on the field. Feeble and foolish. What tools and what weapons are we using? We need some new ones. Real revolution.